Welcome, welcome, my gentle folks. I'm Alex Singleton, CEO, CTO, and founder of Bucephalus Development, headquartered right here in Kansas City. I will be leading the first part of a two-part series to help you all get acquainted with Bitcoin mining. And it's going to start with a Raspberry Pi kit you can buy on Amazon.com, along with a few other items that you'll need. But I'm going to go through these one by one, and I'll have them available at a link below within a gist on YouTube here. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a Canna kit, Raspberry Canna kit you can get on Amazon. You can see right here. It'll cost about $55 to $60. And essentially what all Raspberry Pi is, it's a very, very basic computer. In fact, I remember, I think it was back in 1996, I remember my family got my first computer. It was a P5-166. It was a Gateway. And this thing, $55, is about as much as that was. What was it, about almost $1,800? So adjusted for inflation, maybe that was probably a little bit higher. So anyway, let's take a look at what we got here. So we've got the Canna kit. You're gonna need a few other items that you can find around your house, and if you can't, you can buy these for cheap on Amazon. One of them is gonna be an SD card reader, and that's gonna be to download the operating system from Raspberry Pi website. So you got this. Set that over here. You're gonna need an HDMI cord, and that will connect the Raspberry Pi unit, the computer, again, to a monitor or a TV if you have one. If you don't have an extra monitor around the house, pretend this is a little monitor that I'm going to be used for the demonstration. Just pretend like it's a spare monitor you might have, like a spare computer monitor. If you don't have access to one of those at your home, you can hook it up to a TV. So just pretend like this is a little TV, a little LCD, a mini 60-inch or something. So I'm going to set that over there as well. Again, you got your HDMI cord for that to connect the HDMI to the Raspberry Pi. You're also going to need a mouse at first to configure the Raspberry Pi unit to get the operating system up and running and to get that, I guess, accessible with the Monero client. So you got a mouse, spare mouse, you got that. Again, spare mouse. And we've got a keyboard here as well. You're going to need a keyboard. I've got a spare keyboard. And I'm going to set that as well. And yes, so this is going to be a little bit of a switch here, a little Kansas City shuffle here for you. We're going to start with the screen, or at least me talking right now, showing you what you needed, and I'm going to unbox this in front of y'all. After that, I will walk you through, or at least download the software on the screen. So there's going to be a screencast, and then I'm going to switch off camera and put you on my other camera over here, so we can get started on the Raspberry Pi downloader and configuration there. Then we're going to jump back on the screencast here. So anyway, it's going to make all sense. It's going to stitch nicely together in Final Cut Pro, so it'll look like nothing's even happened. You'll be with me right along the way. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to grab my pocket knife here and open the Canna kit and just kind of explain what we have. First thing that should be arriving is a power cord with the Raspberry Pi unit that'll power the Raspberry Pi. There we have that. Set that over there as well. Next, it should come with some sort of a Wi-Fi card, and this will look like this. Let's see if I can open this. It's the knife. Oh, these are cooling units. Okay, that's not a Wi-Fi card. These are cooling units. Anyway, they're heat sinks. That's right there. And set those aside. And finally, here's the Raspberry Pi. Open this up. And again, you want to keep that in that static wrapper when you're not really using it, but here it is. That's the Raspberry Pi unit, and that's your little computer. That is what's going to be doing the elementary, or at least the beginning mining of this tutorial. So that's the computer. We're going to set this up. I'll set this on the side over here again, and then you'll want to put that device, at least the Raspberry Pi, into a case like this. We'll enclose that in a case once we finish the exercise, but essentially this is what happens. You take the Raspberry Pi and it'll go in. Go in flush like so, and then you'll cap it off there, and voila, that's your little computer. And again, that's the P5 166 gateway that I had back in 1996 has been reduced down to this size. That's going to help us get Bitcoin mining, or at least get started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off to another camera and show you how to install that Raspberry Pi, or at least get it set up. And then we'll get back on the screen here in a bit, but that's the last time you're gonna see my ugly mug for a while. So this is part 1 of the series. And again, part 1, I'm only gonna be using or connecting that Raspberry Pi to the internet with a standard wired connection, LAN connection. I'm not going to be using wireless. Chances are you're gonna wanna have this unit next to a USB modem or something in your house, but if I get more requests to do Wi-Fi, I will create another series or a part B of part 1 to get the Wi-Fi card set up. But this is the easiest plug and play method, and I just want to get you all hooked up first before we start messing around with the operating system. So let's get started. Let's switch over right now. Okay, folks, your Canna kit should come with an SD card. If it doesn't, you want to have one, and I will include this in the list. Again, that will be available within the gist below on this posting on YouTube or wherever else. That gist will include a list of items, and one of them is going to be an SD card like so. It's an 8GB SD card, and that is essentially the hard drive of the Raspberry Pi. That will become the hard drive of the Raspberry Pi that will contain the operating system. And you're going to need a SD card reader or formatter, so we can format the card first and then insert this into the Raspberry Pi. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in here in the SD card formatter, and then we're going to plug this into the iMac, and then I'm going to swap screens here. We'll be on a screencast for the next few moments, and we'll go from there. But as you can see, I inserted that 8GB card into the SD card reader, and now I'm going to insert that into my Mac. Okay, folks, so what you're going to do next is once you plug that SanDisk into the SanDisk card reader, you'll plug it into your iMac or Mac, whatever you're using for this tutorial. And then we're going to pop up here on my screen or my desktop, and you can see that the Raspberry Pi is already recognized by my iMac here. I'm going to go ahead and format that disk just because it's good practice in general and show you what's going on here. But let's go ahead and pull up the disk or my SD card formatter application, and you can download that from the Apple application store. I'm going to go ahead and select the only device that's available here. That's the general mass storage class media. You can see it's 8GB. It's the correct drive that I'm trying to format. We're going to select quick format. I'm going to call it Raspberry Pi, and we're going to go ahead and format it. I can enter in my user credentials there, and then we're ready to go. Okay, it'll be formatted. So the next thing after that is to go to the Raspberry Pi noobs. I got to find or download the noobs operating system to download from Raspberry Pi. So just type in Raspberry Pi download noobs. So what you're going to do then is you're going to right click and hit download zip. Go ahead and save that to your desktop. That's what I did. But when you do this, you're on your own. It's going to take about 30 minutes to do. For whatever reason, the Raspberry Pi servers were running really slow today, so I went ahead and downloaded this myself. You'll just go ahead and select target or save target as on your desktop, and you should be done. So once that's finished, you will download that. It'll be on your desktop right here. If you've done everything correctly, go ahead and double click on that, unzip it. It'll take a couple of seconds to unload. Almost there. Wow. Okay. There it is. So that's unpackaged. So we're going to go ahead and open that, and then the next thing we're going to do is select everything in there. So hit Command A to select all, and we're going to dump that into the Raspberry Pi. And again, that might take a couple of minutes here, so let's see if it does. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll be right back. Or what I plan on doing is just let that go ahead and commence. And then once this is completed, I'm going to unplug the SanDisk from the SanDisk card reader. And then I'll meet you all over here and plug that SanDisk card into the Raspberry Pi. And then we'll fire up the rest of the tutorial. So let's go ahead and pause here and transition over there. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and get started here. As you can see, I've got the Raspberry Pi connected to all the peripherals needed here. We've got the keyboard, got the mouse over here, and then I have the HDMI cord plugged in addition to the power. All of those are plugged into their corresponding ports, and then again, the SanDisk card is inserted in the back, and think of that as the hard drive. Again, it's right there if you can see it in the bottom portion here. So again, this tutorial is going to start from the I guess from a LAN connection, but if I get enough requests to configure it for Wi-Fi, we'll go ahead and do that. It could be a little more complicated, but anyway, let's just go ahead and start this out. I'm going to go ahead and turn the power on. In some cases, you'll just plug the power into the outlet, but I have a switch here. It's modified, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on. But effectively, the last thing you would really plug in to turn it on would be the power cord. So once you plug that one, the last cord in, it'll be ready to go. So let's go ahead and do it. As you can see, there's a pilot light on. It's on, or should be turning on right now. And we're getting a connection to the monitor here that's being received. It's booting up with the load drive right now, or load disk, pardon me. And here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and select, if you guys can see, I'm going to see if I can zoom in with my camera here. Bear with me. Zoom in as much as possible there. I'll adjust this. Come up a little bit. See if we can zoom in just a little bit tighter. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and boot with one of these selections here. Now let me read through them. It's been a while since I've done this again. I'm going to go Raspbian. That's right, the top one. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit install. So there's an X mark there. I'm going to hit install. It's warning this will install the selected operating systems. Of course, yes. So this is going to take, let's see here, it's going to take some time. It'll take 5 or 10 minutes to probably load or install everything here. So let's go ahead and sit tight. I'm probably just going to be hanging out here in the background. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and let this feed through and just sit here with you. So let's just go ahead and do that. Or I might go ahead and pause and come back and we'll take it from there. But we'll see what happens. For right now, I'm just going to let it roll. Okay, folks, I think it was a solid 20 minutes for that install. So I'm going to go ahead, let's go ahead and hit OK. And it should reboot here into the Raspberry Pi Noobs or Raspbian operating system. As you can see, it's booting there. There are the boot files. And there we go. And we should see a welcome here screen in a bit. Now, since we have a hard connection or LAN connection here to the Raspberry Pi, and again, this will probably be easier since many of you will not have splitters or anything like that, but you would want to connect it maybe to your router or modem. There'll probably be an extra port there available. So you plug the Raspberry Pi into or through an extra port like that into your modem. But There is a wireless option available. It can be problematic, or let's just say it's not as easy as it is with a standard LAN connection like this. But let's go ahead and test the internet connection. I can remember how to get in there. That was it. Just see if Google pops up. Excellent. Okay, so we're connected to the internet. Good. A couple other things we need to consider here or enable. This is within the settings within Raspberry Pi. I believe it's in preferences. And let's go to Raspberry Pi configuration. Okay, we got the Raspberry Pi host name, which is going to be Raspberry Pi. Okay, we got enabled interfaces. Let's see here. I'm going to do a few things here because we really don't plan on having this Raspberry Pi connected. Again, if we pretend this is your TV, we're not going to have this setting connected, or at least this TV connected to the Raspberry Pi as if it were another computer. The idea here is we're going to log in from the command line at the computer or MacBook or iMac, whatever you use ordinarily. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enable SSH because that'll be for SSH login. And then I'm also going to do VNC later. I mean, maybe this will be another tutorial spin-off and show you how to do remote host, I guess using a VPN or accessing a remote connection to accessing your Raspberry Pi through a remote connection with VPN. You'll enable that. Let's go ahead and go there. That's it. So that's all we really need to know. And we'll hit OK. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and wrap up this tutorial session here. I'm going to go ahead and fire up iTerm. Most of you are probably new to programming, so in order to access the standard terminal in Mac, just hit Command Spacebar and then type in terminal and hit Enter. That should bring you right to it. That'll look like this on the left here. Also, one thing to note, if you've never heard of Homebrew, the Homebrew package manager, you're gonna go to Google and Google Homebrew package manager, type that in, click on that link, homebrew.sh, and then copy that command, go to the terminal window and paste and run it. You would just hit copy paste and then hit enter. So let that run, let that install, because that's the package manager required if you don't have the Nmap tool, and I'm going to walk you through that here momentarily. So let me close out of that and go here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and log into that Raspberry Pi over there. If you can see it, it's still plugged in. I've got it plugged in over there. It's still plugged in, not to my computer. It's pretend like it's connected to your modem away from your computer or how you're accessing the internet currently. But it basically has to be connected to your home network. It doesn't necessarily have to be connected to any device directly, but it has to be connected to your home network, whatever that is, and have a connection to the outside world. So let's go ahead and, again, if you don't have Nmap, that's the name of the program that I'm going to be using to find some of the ports, you would run Homebrew or brew install Nmap. It would be this command right here. You would run that if you after you download the Homebrew package manager and then run that command. I already have it, so I don't need to do it. So let's go ahead and run the commands. One thing I'm going to note here, at least tell you, is that if I do this, if I run this command, I'm going to expose some of my ports. So I'd rather not do that. But anyway, you would type that command in. That's sudo nmap.sp-n 10.0.1.0/24. That will run a scan of all the ports on your network, and you'll see which devices are connected. And it'll actually detail certain system information. Like in this case, it'll say, once you run that command, you should see a list of hosts connected to your network, and you'll see something that says Raspberry Pi, something like that. When you see that, that will be what you want to drill into in the next command. And again, I'm not going to run this because I don't want to expose all my ports to the rest of the outside world. And again, I'm just being overly secure, probably too secure. I'm just being paranoid. But anyway, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So the next command you'd want to run is, again, let's see, is nmap .sn, and then the port number you would find after running that previous command. So that's, in my case, it's going to be nmap.sn 10.0.1.101. And in this case, I really don't care because this is going to be a demonstration. I'm going to take that device out and replace it with another one. So I'm going to run that run that command. And you can see I've confirmed that. It's the nmap scan report for Raspberry Pi. So I've hit it. That is the correct device I want to access. So the next command I'm going to run is the SSH, and that's the secure shell access. So it's going to be SSH -v pi at 10.0.1.101. And again, SSH is the SSH access, or secure client shell access, -v, and then pi is the username. That's the standard username of the device. 10.0.1.1.101 is the IP address uniquely assigned by my own home network. It'd probably be changed. It's probably not going to be the same for your own home network. So it would be pi at 10 whatever you found in the previous command. So if that doesn't work, try pi at Raspberry Pi. But in my case, it's going to be 10.0.1.101. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, because that just has to do with server host key assignment. And it actually is requiring the Raspberry Pi password. And the standard password assigned there is going to be Raspberry. That just comes standard on all Raspberry Pis. You're going to want to change that later. And there we are. So we're in. Let's go ahead and just do a few, I guess, housekeeping issues here. We want to do a standard update. So that'd be run sudo apt get update. And that's going to update all the system files. We'll let that run. And then after that, we're going to run sudo apt get upgrade. Okay, and then the next command we're going to run is sudo apt get upgrade. So we're updating all the packages. Just going to hit yes, you see them. Should only take a few minutes here. Let's let it wrap up. The next command I'm going to run, or at least show you what to do, is change your password, because having Raspberry, I wouldn't feel good letting you all go without changing that password. So it's finished. One final thing I'm going to do is, again, help you secure this Raspberry Pi. Run sudo raspi config. And let's see here. And then we're going to change username and password. So just go ahead and hit enter. You will now ask for a new password. Okay. So I'm going to enter a new password. Enter new unique password. I'm just going to pick a standard one that I use that's somewhat secure. But again, just make sure you pick something that's unique and ideally alphanumeric. Let's go ahead and enter something now. Confirming the password now. And then the password's been changed. And now I'm going to exit from the boot menu here. Just hit down, or hit hit the right arrow, and just hit finish. So let's go ahead and test that. Just make sure that we did indeed change the password correctly. I'm going to go ahead and hit exit. I'm going to run the same command I did to access this. New password should be the new password. Boom. And that concludes the first part of this series, y'all. I think you'll enjoy the second part of this series. We're going to use this as a foundation to build on the mining client, Minera, with a standard USB mining unit. After that, we're hopefully going to graduate to one of the new Dragon Mint miners we've been talking about and get to mining some Bitcoin. But thanks for joining me. I sincerely appreciate it, and let's make some Bitcoin. Thank you. Bye-bye.